What's up, guys? So today I'm going to talk about movement in Tekken 6. Now, I want you guys to remember that even though I'm recording this video on Tekken 6, Tekken Teg Tournament 2 is coming out really soon, and all of the movement and the way everything functions in that game as far as movement is concerned is identical to this game. So a lot of people are interested in trying that game for the first time, and people are asking me about how the game works and all that stuff, and I keep recommending that if you are interested in Tag 2, you should start practicing with Tekken 6, because as far as the core mechanics of the movement goes, it's really similar. And I've said many times that I think movement is the most important thing in Tekken. The reason for this is I think generally the most important thing in all fighting games is punishment. And in Tekken, the best way to utilize punishment is movement. And I'll get into that a little later, but I'm going to split this video up into two sections, two parts. The first one's going to be just the total basics of movement, which I think is really not something that people should neglect. So in this video, I'm going to cover just basic sidestep, sidewalk, backdash, a quick look into backdash cancel, and just forward dash. And just how all of those things work and why you need to do all of those things, what the purpose of them is. So, yeah, the next video I do is probably going to be more advanced. It's going to have more of the backdash canceling and like wave dashing and all that other shit. But, it's really important to start from scratch. Even if you are a Tekken player already, a lot of Tekken players they just don't understand exactly what they're doing. And even though they have moderate success, it's really important to understand how each of these things works and what it's for. So, anyway, getting started, I guess the first thing I'll talk about is sidestep versus sidewalk. Now, in Tekken 6, and this also applies to Tekken Tag 2, you can do a sidestep by tapping down or up, and you just return it to neutral, and you get a small sidestep like that. And a lot of people don't understand what the difference is between a sidestep and a sidewalk. This is a sidewalk. You push down, return to neutral, and then hold down again, and you do that with up as well. And while you're walking, what you're doing is, it starts as a sidestep, but the walking animation is more evasive than a sidestep. So I guess the moral of the story here is that a sidestep is faster but less evasive, and a sidewalk is slower but more evasive. So how do you apply this into the game itself? Well, the way a sidestep is usually used is, what you apply a sidestep to is when you expect the opponent to stick something out that recovers very quickly. So, for example, if I wanted to, let's say, bait out a jab, and I do a jab expecting the opponent to return with a jab. So you do a jab, sidestep, and then punish. That's how you use a sidestep in this game. It's really small, and it's only typically used to punish things that recover very quickly. Now, you also, of course, use it for positioning. So you can sidestep and then cancel a sidestep into forward or back, and then tap down again. So by doing this, what you're doing is you're positioning your opponent. You could put you could put the wall to their back. You could put the wall to your back. Maybe if you're Armor King or King and you have a giant swing, or Leo has a command throw that works to her back, stuff like that. So sidestep is usually used for positioning and baiting out things that are quick recovery. Now, sidewalk, on the other hand, what you would use that for is when you know the opponent is going to attack, but you don't know what they're going to attack with. So you need to visually see what they attacked with and then punish accordingly. For example, let's say the same scenario. I'm doing a jab, and now I'm sidewalking. If he does a single jab, I'm not going to have enough time to see that it's a jab and choose the correct punisher, whatever it is. So what you do is you do a jab, you wait to see what their retaliation is, and then you punish accordingly. If it's something big, maybe you have enough time for a hop kick. If it's something small, maybe you got to take a 1-2 or whatever. So that's kind of the purpose of a sidewalk in this game. It is slower, but it is more evasive. There's a lot more stuff that you can avoid with a sidewalk than you can with a sidestep. And that's really important to remember. A lot of characters, like let's say for example Armor King, that character is pretty good against just regular sidestep, but if the opponent is sidewalking a lot, it's really difficult for him to deal with that, and that's important to know. So these are two, even though they seem similar, it's just sidestep versus sidewalk, these are two really different and important things to remember. And using each one when you need it is also super crucial. I mean, like, extremely important. You have to know when you need to use just a sidestep and punish, or when you need to use a sidewalk to get around bigger moves or, setups or whatever. So that's just sidestepping and sidewalking. Now let's talk about backdashing. In my opinion, backdashing is one of the most important things in this game. There are several pro players, top level players, that don't even sidestep or sidewalk. They simply move back and forward. They just go forward and back, backdash, and punish correctly. And just that concept alone will tell you that backdashing is extremely important. So just the basic backdash obviously is done by back. Now, one of the most important things to remember about a backdash in this game is that if you hit back and let go of the second back, you are now stuck in your backdash and you cannot block. So what you should be doing is doing back and holding back. Do not let go of the second back. What that does is while you're backdashing, you are still blocking. So if someone does a move and it hits you while you're backdashing, as long as it's not a low, you will block it. Now, this is like extremely important. So when you're doing a backdash cancel, which is, and I'll go into backdash canceling in more detail in the advanced video, but the concept is that you're doing a backdash, canceling it with a crouch, and then backdashing again. So if you do it correctly, the way I said, holding back, what you're doing is you're making this backwards movement, and the only time you're vulnerable is during the cancel. So during the movement itself, you are not vulnerable to mids or highs. This means that you can move backwards and not have to worry about mids or highs. The only time you're going to worry about it is during that cancel. The better you get at backdash canceling, the smaller that cancel is going to be. And what that means is it's just going to be harder and harder for you to get hit. And I think that's super important. Let me get a drink of water here. So, as I was saying, backdash canceling. Now, you can cancel a backdash into a crouch or a sidestep or a sidewalk at any time. You can also cancel a sidestep into a backdash or a sidewalk into a backdash. It's important to remember this because when you're moving around in this game, you have to have access to all these tools just at all time. Duck, oh, he's doing a high, he's going to throw. All this stuff is really important. All these things need to flow together really well in order for you to be like, think about like a fighter, let's say like an MMA fighter. You never see an MMA fighter just walk into a fight standing straight up, not moving around. I mean, that's retarded. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be bobbing and weaving and moving around, moving their head, covering it with their hands and all this stuff to make it so that they're a moving target. If I'm just standing here, of course I'm just going to get the shit kicked out of me because I'm just a target. But if I'm moving around and I'm hard to hit and I'm just sidestepping, sidewalking, altering my range, maintaining this movement that's like really hard to pin down, it's going to be much harder to hit me with anything. And that's kind of the concept you have to remember. Utilizing all your tools. And then there's also character specific tools that you have to remember, like, Jin has wave dash, there's also stances like this thing. I don't even use this character, but you have to remember that there are a lot of specific things in this game that you have to utilize to turn your character into a moving target. And a moving target is a lot harder to hit than a stationary target. That's kind of the philosophy you have to keep in mind. Now, I mentioned how backdashing is so important, and you have to remember that you have to hold the second back in order to block. Now, yeah, that's really important, but the last thing that is I'm going to include in this video is forward dashing. Now, forward dashing functions kind of in a weird way in this game. So if you do forward, you dash forward just like that. And you just release the second forward, you just dash forward. Now, if you're far away from the opponent and you just release the second forward, it becomes a run. You can also initiate a run from close up by holding it. But in this game, as well as in Tekken Tag 2, the running state is different from a dashing state. So a forward dash is where you can do something like this is forward forward 2 for Jin. If you do a forward dash, it's like the move is forward forward 2. You do the forward dash, and then you can at the end of the forward dash input the 2. So what you do is you can either do a forward forward 2 with no dash or forward forward 2 with a large dash. The forward forward is kind of registered, and it's just a matter of when you hit the 2 for you to do the move. Now, when you're running, there's two types of running moves in this game. There's the types that you have to actually be in a true running state. For example, like that unblockable shoulder tackle, that can only be done while you're truly running. And also the generic slide, that can only be done by running. That's a running 4. And then the cross chop can only be done while truly running. But there is a second type of running state in this game, which is called instant running. So what that is you have access to moves such as a slash kick, which is a running 3. You have access to them up close. And I'm going to get into this in the advanced video I do later. But just keep in mind that these close-up attacks, the way you do them is forward, forward, forward. And forward, forward, forward is done with all characters to access the instant running state. So any character that has a move like Shining Wizard or Slash Kick or any running move that is accessible, is doable from the instant running state, it's important to practice this stuff in order to be able to execute those things. Really, really crucial, especially for some characters. So just to reiterate the things that I've covered in this video and what they're for. Sidestepping is quick lateral movement, usually used to punish things like jabs or down forward ones, and it will not evade nearly as much stuff as a sidewalk. Sidewalks are slower, but they will evade things like bigger moves that have tracking against sidestep, and it's important to decide when you want to use each one. Backdash. Number one thing to remember about a simple backdash is hold the second back as long as possible. Even if you're planning on canceling it into a sidestep, remember to hold the second dash and then cancel it. It's really important because a lot of the time you will be stuck in a backdash and then you'll get hit. And it's because you released back and you return to neutral. So, even if you're going to backdash and crouch, remember not to go back to neutral. Just back, slide to down back. Really important. And like I said, I'll get into the importance of Korean backdashing and backdash canceling in the advanced tutorial. But the other thing I mentioned, and this is also important, is understanding how forward dashing works and how you can use forward moves in a forward dash to give them extra range. That's really important. And as well as running and how to access running. So that's a running ultimate tackle. And again, that's a move that you can only do from a true running state. But moves like slash kick, which is forward, forward, forward 3, can be done from a true running state or from an instant running state, like that. Just like that. So, important to remember these things. Let me see. I don't think I'm forgetting anything as far as just the basics. If you guys have any questions or anything that I didn't cover in the basics of movement, just leave a comment. Otherwise, do me a solid, subscribe to this channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.